He's, I don't want to say he's an assassin, but he's a tough guy. It's been proven over the years. He's fooled a lot of people. He fooled Bush. He fooled a lot of people. He fooled Clinton, Bush, Obama, Biden. He didn't fool me.
Well, hello, that's me again. Today is July 14th, 2025. It is Monday. And I'm sorry, yeah, this is the POTUS, President of the United States, who basically in the bloviating mode non-stop since even before elections. And I want to stress again and to kind of dispel this myth, which Trump perpetuates, and many people buy it. Make no mistake, there are many people in MAGA and even in the so-called left, which is not really a left, which is Democratic Party, is that, oh, he knows Putin. He doesn't. And so when we talk about interpersonal relations between Trump and Putin, there are some relations definitely there. I mean, they cannot call each other friends. He constantly bloviates. He goes around and he spreads this essentially, lie that he knows Putin. He doesn't. And I want to stress again, Mr. Trump essentially is the showman and the New York real estate shyster. And as such, he grew up from a very specific environment where gotcha is the main slogan, so to speak, the whole principle of things. So he's talking to, if anybody doesn't understand, he's talking to a very good level lawyer. Of course, Mr. Putin has the, what is called judicial doctor of juris or juris doctor, whatever you can call it. And then he talks about to actually graduate of the higher school of KGB. And then, of course, as I already stated many times, the famous KI, which is the Red Banner Institute of Andropov, which is essentially the Academy of the Intelligence People. And we're talking about academy, including people into under deep cover, like you would talk to them and you would see them, American or British or French or German, and you would know that this is the cadre officer of that this time it's essentially SVR, Foreign Intelligence Service. That's the level of Mr. Putin. This is the guy who is a cadre officer, the former colonel, and in this, short time between him being the guy from St. Petersburg, political environment, he became also the director of the FSB for a while. So there you go. Compare those weight categories. And that's why Mr. Trump and this whole thing with the steam going into whistle is exactly what had happened. Everybody were very excited about this grandiose announcement which Mr. Trump would make, today, while speaking to Mr. Rutte of NATO. So what we can say is this. First, keep in mind, independent, this is British, okay? They are always like that. They try to, create all kind of the hysterical atmosphere around anything. And so, yesterday they said that, Trump very disappointed in Putin. They repeat his previous quote, as he vows to send Ukraine Patriot missiles ahead of meeting with NATO boss. That was yesterday, and President Donald Trump said the United States will be sending Ukraine armed forces additional Patriot air defense missiles and more sophisticated weapons. What are those more sophisticated weapons? First, I already explained many times that, let's read this thing and I will tell you. That additional to Patriot air defense missiles, more very sophisticated military equipment, as he expressed frustrations at Russian President Vladimir Putin conducting his country's 3-year-old war against Ukraine. I'm very disappointed, he says. So, what is the sophisticated? Before we go and see what he really declared today. Oh my God, the earth-shaking statement. Well, again, sophisticated is not the term you want to use in military, science and military experience in warfare. What Russians use instead of sophisticated, there's a very good word which actually has a dual meaning, dual semantics, complex. Yeah, all things military today are complex, but sophistication is not an indication of any kind of the how good the system is or what any normal professional military anyway in Russia, in United States, in United Kingdom, if there are some left there, or in France even, they would be using the term combat effective. That's what it is. It doesn't matter how sophisticated it is. Well, we know, for example, the German cars are very sophisticated, especially their higher level, whatever. I'm not specialist. Mercedes C-Class or whatever, S-Class, doesn't matter. BMWs, they're very sophisticated. They also suck. This is overpriced junk, over-engineered, and this is what Germans do. And they sell basically brand. As cars, nobody needs the V8 with 450 horsepower, even on the American highways. There is a speed limit, and if you want to pay whatever, the 5 times what this car really worth, it's of course your problem and your own desire, but it begins to reek, which is what I'm writing and speaking for the last 11 years, the conspicuous consumption and virtue signaling. So when they use this sophisticated thing, it means absolutely nothing. What Mr. Trump probably meant, and let's go to actually what he was stating today, and then we'll talk about it. So, as you can see yourself, there we go. So, Trump issues threat to Russia or Ukraine conflict. Okay, yeah, well, and now he comes up with, he pulls it out of his ass, evidently. I don't know why 50 days. Why not 48? Why not 60? Why not 52? I don't know. I really don't know. I have no clue how this guy thinks because he doesn't really think. He acts on the whim. He definitely has only himself at the center of the universe, as any narcissist will. And so he talks today with Mr. Rutte and he issues this warning threat. We are very, very unhappy. Why did he use it only twice? He should sound like this. We are very, 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 very unhappy. I am with Russia and we are going to be doing very severe tariffs. Again, he should be using very, very, very severe tariffs if we don't have a deal in about 50 days, he stated. Okay, sure, you're not going to have a deal in about 50 days because Russia doesn't care about anything United States does towards Russia anymore. You cannot really trust United States. You cannot take United States seriously as any kind of the, even opponent. These guys, it came down to that United States, the modus operandi is lying. And so Trump blamed his predecessor, Joe Biden, for dragging Washington into the conflict. Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Trump, it is your war. It was from the get-go, but you had the chance, and Russians gave you the off-ramp. You didn't use it. Well, too freaking bad. And so he talks about some kind of the, weapons, so, oh gosh, we're gonna send those weapons. What kind of weapons he is talking about? Well, he is talking about the weapons which he mentioned. For some reason, he calls it 17 Patriot air defense complexes, which is not. The United States doesn't have it. And the United States was actually scraping the bottom of the barrel, trying to collect all those Patriots, including the older versions of PAC-3 from Israel, from what have you, because, as you know, Mr. Trump stated that they're 100% effective. Why not 250% effective? I don't know. But obviously, he probably meant, at best actually, 17 launchers, maybe. And the fact that he promised first 10 missiles, and then he promised, whatever he promises now, 30 missiles. Yeah, good luck defending anything with that, especially with the combat lack of effectiveness of Patriot, which is a laughing stock now around in the Russian military. And this is the question of actually the serious consideration. And let's then go to what have happened before all this, statements, white noise, all kinds of threats being issued by Trump administration, which is essentially in the, well, it's a complete mess, especially if we go and talk about this whole Bondi, Pam Bondi and Epstein files. Most people already know that it's a cover up, but so I'm not going to go there. This administration lost any kind of the credibility, and so as the result, let's go back and take a look what, as I already stated, he said that, send them, we're going to send weapons, he talks about that. The president announced the plan during a meeting with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte on Monday. The president also laid out a new deadline for Russia. So we know that he talks about the resuming of this thing after the alleged pause, and here we have Mr. Peskov. Mr. Peskov went on record today, and he's pretty, explicit. So that he said U.S. weapons deliveries to Ukraine have continued uninterrupted despite reports of finding gaps and political wrangling. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov has said he told reporters on Monday the shipment of weapons, ammunition, and military equipment from the U.S. have continued and are continuing. So this is the level of trust you have to U.S. media and this U.S. media establishment in general, who still were talking about this pause. As Mr. Peskov stated, there was no pause. And again, Russia is not Iraq or even Iran. Russia has second best satellite grouping and generally ISR in the world. In terms of human and signal processing, it is as good as US, if not better. But in terms of human, oh boy, gosh, United States, it doesn't even register there. So as you might expect, Russians know that all this was the, basically ballet, the kabuki theater from the American side. And as the result, we can go and take a look attentively at what actually have been disclosed about this whole situation with the so-called pause. So we have now the Wall Street Journal. So they talk about Pentagon official at center of weapons pause on Ukraine wants U.S. to focus on China. And this was written yesterday, and this is from Wall Street Journal. And Elbridge Colby, the Pentagon's top policy official, wants to refocus the U.S. military on countering China. That has put him at the center of the Trump administration abrupt moves on providing weapons to Ukraine. As we already know, there was no really moves, but probably what has happened, Mr. Colby offered, pause and suggested pause. As the Wall Street Journal explained, it was Colby, a 45-year-old grandson of a former Central Intelligence Agency director, who wrote a memo to Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth in early June outlining how Ukraine's request for U.S. weapons could further stretch, and let's continue to read what Wall Street Journal reports, can further stretch already depleted Pentagon stockpiles. Well, the fact that Pentagon has depleted stockpiles is not a secret, and it hasn't been a secret since at least half a year. I think so. I think actually that it was more than that. And I was writing about this already probably 2024, sometime at 2024, when they were literally running out of the weapons, and especially about the high level systems such as Patriot's PAC-3. And the memo didn't have a recommendation and was described by a defense official as a tool for assessing how arms deliveries would affect U.S. stockpiles. But some officials in the administration in Congress say it figured in the Pentagon's decision to suspend some arms shipments to Kiev. A move President Trump later reversed. So there could have been some stop on, for example, high-end system, like, for example, missiles for PAC-3, Patriot PAC-3. But for the most part, whatever United States had at this time, which was still diminishing, was continuing to flow into Ukraine. And so Colby has been thinking very deeply about how the United States can best defend itself in an era of constrained resources, said Dan Caldwell, a former advisor to Hexet. A lot of policymakers have refused to accept that reality. Colby has turned down interview requests. Nobody cares about what lawmakers in the United States think, because most of them are morons, actually, and they are there only to settle their own personal affairs in terms of the sexual preferences, in terms of, making their wealth grow, and most of them are lawyers, and they do not live in the real world, like Mr. Graham, Lindsey Graham. He definitely prepared this horrible, hammer, sledgehammer, sanctions and bill, which Trump doesn't want to put in action because, first, it's not going to affect Russia in any way. Russians don't care, And secondly, that, if Trump wants to completely destroy his already mauled presidency, sure, let him go. But now we have even MAGA people burning their MAGA hats, and it's obviously because of the Epstein files. But the other thing is, it's Trump's war. United States has no other option in this respect as to continue to do whatever it can, and it doesn't have much more resources to support Ukraine, and the off-ramp time has passed. It's past this point, it's fait accompli, and so doesn't matter what the United States does anymore. Ukraine will be eliminated, as some people say. This is primarily speculation. They said that, we're going to send, not just, those defensive weapons, offensive weapons. Okay, sure, they're going to be sending maybe, again, yet another, if they have it, the ATACMS type thing or whatever, the new thing, which is instead of ATACMS, pretty much some, I don't even remember the name of the system, which is, I don't think it's even in IOC, initial operational capability, but the rumor has it they want to send JASSMs. Okay, JASSM is the only thing which United States has, which is relatively new. It is stealthy, very expensive, very overrated, but still, the basic version of JASSM is around 300 kilometer range, but the longer range, JASSM ER, I believe, it's about 900 something kilometers, so let's say under 1,000 kilometers. Could they stick those on F-16s? I think so. Yeah, you can do that. You can get these STANAG mandated adjustments with whatever the thing which carries the store, so to speak. And yeah, it can carry F-16s, whatever they have left, can carry this JASSM and 1,000 kilometer. Okay, that's serious. Nobody argues with that. It's still subsonic missile, so it's pretty much standard target for all Russian air defense complexes. So what's going to happen? Okay, let them send JASSMs. Well, that means that this zone, security zone, will stretch to the western Ukraine. And again, many people, including the old tabloids, including like Bild, this bunch of the morons from Germany who write, Russia is about to start mega offensive with 30,000 people. You call it mega offensive? Really? It's basically 3 divisions. It's an army corps. So if they don't understand what is happening along the front line where Russia holds permanently, it obviously differs here and there, holds about 750,000 people, so 30,000. Are you kidding me? We're talking about actually what Russians hold right now, at the very moment, active of the line of the combat contact, we're talking about at least 2 army groups, not armies. So, but what can I say? What do I know? I'm pretty sure Bild and those German professionals, like their chief of general staff, the guy's an utter moron. So, and they, for some reason, think that Russians prepared this mega offensive. No, Russians will continue to roll forward as they do now. Again, another 2 or couple of the hamlets and towns, including famous village of Malinovka, have been, and Russians know what Malinovka is with the famous Soviet movie from 1960s, the wedding in Malinovka. So they took it and liberated it. And so if we go and take a look at what we have in terms of the dynamics of losses. As you can see yourself, it's from yesterday. Another two PAC 3s, Patriots have been, left the chat. Their damage obviously is being assessed, but primarily Russians hit the radar. So they don't even need to kick them, the command and control machine, because, radar, once you remove radar from PAC 3, it's useless, basically. So, and yeah, we have another, and 1,220. So basically, it's primarily the MIA, killed. Obviously, many of those killed will be, pardon me, written off as their missing in action, not to pay their obviously benefits to their families. But Ukrainians wanted it. As you can see yourself, there is all kinds of happenings there. Something. It's near Kryvyi Rog. We have something really burning there, and as you can see yourself, this is the strong point. And this strong point, well, as you can see, so doesn't exist anymore. So Russians do their job in a classic, Russian manner, so to speak. And then, obviously, Mr. Zarubin. He is the main Kremlin correspondent. He did the interview with Mr. Putin, and this is the yesterday. It's Hindustan Times, and the important part about Hindustan Times is that when you go there, they do dub. They do provide their very decent translation for what Mr. Zarubin talks about to Mr. Putin when Mr. Putin says that he made a mistake. When as spy on the West, and the mistake was that he trusted the West. You cannot trust the West. Absolutely, they are the existential enemy of Russia and Russian people, and this is what Mr. Putin shares with Mr. Zarubin in his interview. And I strongly suggest you to go and take a look and listen to it, because we all made a mistake. Many people continue. How can you live in the United States? Well, guys. I live in the United States for almost, more than 30 years now, so I'm a US citizen, so it's a little bit difficult to say that, let's gather things and just move back to Russia. Well, it doesn't work like this, obviously. But yes, there is a lot of unhappiness, and not on my part only, about what this country has become, especially the last 3 president terms. I'm not talking about the first Obama's term. When you look at that, it's just, good Lord. Is this what it comes down to? Yes, it does. We're talking about the systemic collapse of the Western world. In the United States, well, apart from Europe, leads the way, essentially on the larger geopolitical scheme, and it is essentially impotent. It wants to start the war. It certainly can start the war. It will never be able to finish it, because it will be destroyed utterly from the American forces in Europe, if they pretend that they can do it, to United States itself. If United States, being the nuclear biased nation, will try to go and escalate towards the nuclear threshold. And so, this is no lose-lose basically situation for the United States. And what we can do only is sit here and observe this dynamic of the collapse. And this is what is happening, as you saw yourself, what is happening with Trump administration. And so, while Trump administration collapsing and in the complete disarray, Mr. Ravani and Mr. Lavrov, they are talking, foreign ministers of China and Russia. And this is a really positive sign. As you can see yourself, they are in the relaxed atmosphere. It's called no ties meeting. That means it's pretty much informal. And so, Russians developed their relations with China, not without problems, of course, but you know what? These are 2 key players in BRICS. And BRICS suddenly becomes a very important factor, if not now leading factor, of the global affairs. Now, in conclusion, because obviously I was forced to make the political comments by the realities and logic of the circumstances in what I do, but let's go back a little bit to military part, or military side, for Russian side. Here are the news. For some people, for fanboys, it was, oh my God, look what happens. Well, it's really not. So as you, this was discussed by me on many on my videos, and you can take a look at my previous videos where I discussed the fate of the classic flat tops. As you can see yourself, this is yesterday. That Ministry of Defense may refuse to restore the aircraft carrying cruiser Admiral Kuznetsov, which has been under repairs at the 35th shipyard in Murmansk since 2018, after participating in the Russian military operation in Syria. According to publication, the repair and modernization of the ship have been suspended, and the question of its future should be resolved in the near future. Okay, it's suspension, so it doesn't mean that Russians will not restore it. But here is the opinion of a man you cannot say anything against his background. This and we know, well, in our environment, we know this man as an extremely capable naval officer and thinker. So, former commander of the Pacific Fleet, Admiral Sergei Avakyan's, considers the refusal to continue work justified. This is naval professional. According to him, classic aircraft carriers are losing their relevance due to high vulnerability and cost, giving way to unmanned system. So, in his opinion, of Admiral Avakyan's, the Admiral Kuznetsov, in his opinion, can be decommissioned and disposed of. So, can it? Probably. Will Russians, after indeed dispose of it? Because you know what are you gonna do with this thing? Yeah, it has its propulsion fixed, because it was always propulsion with the problem with the Kuznetsov carrier, but do not forget what was the actually configuration of Kuznetsov. Kuznetsov, apart from carrying the air wing, continued throughout its service life until it deployed to Syria to carry all those, anti-shipping missiles. Yeah, it had basically silos to do that. And then they removed it. They decided to go with the classic American Katobar, mastodons. And the question is now, guys, let's face it, you saw yourself, and Americans are absolutely experts. Make no mistake, U.S. Navy is the most, a qualified, basically user and developer of the aircraft carrier. You saw yourself what happened with the Operation Prosperity Guardian. And it already happened, basically. The Red Sea, the main choke point, is still choked by Houthis, and even USS Eisenhower carrier battle group and other ships from all over NATO, they could do nothing to unchoke this choke point. This is everything you need to know. And these were Houthis who were using 1950s, 1960s anti-ship missiles, the knockoffs by the Soviet P-15, P-20 termites, and all kinds of UAVs. And then suddenly you can see yourself, those white elephants. You literally cannot do anything with them which actually even does anything in terms of the surface warfare. Look at the ranges of the modern anti-shipping missiles. 1500 for Zircon 3M22. The new versions will be even longer. More than 1,000 kilometers for the supersonic P-800 Onyx. It's all beyond the reach of the everything they had on the carrier battle group, including obviously the about 230 nautical miles, the forward edge of the patrol. It's usually 6 hours on the station by E-2 Hawkeyes. Even when you put everything together with the range of their radar, they see nothing, because they could be attacked from the most remote locations, or under the water, or from the surface, and they will not know if they will be able to detect some things. They will not be able to detect, for example, these hypersonic weapons, and even in terms of supersonic weapons, which is Mach 2.9, good luck catching those P-800, especially when there is a salvo and it distributes itself over large space, and then of course, basically crowds the air defense of the carrier battle group, and it's pretty much it for carrier battle group after that. So Russians know, Russians learn, they follow the trends, and now, of course, if you ask me, if the pause, at least for now, it's suspended. It doesn't mean that it will not resume. It may yet resume. they just learn the trend and say, yeah, we need something else. So will Russia have aircraft carriers? Yes, she will, but it will not be these mastodons. Actually, Kuznetsov, full displacement, actually, if you look at its tactical parameters, around 70,000 metric tons. It's a large ship, okay, so full displacement. And so while not obviously 100,000 tons like mastodons of the Nimitz class, or let alone Ford class of the US Navy, it is still a very large machine. So, will Russians go for restoring Kuznetsov? I don't know. We'll see. But the time of those white elephants who pretend to project power against anybody without with impunity, well, it's pretty much over. And it will be really fascinating to observe what is happening with Admiral Kuznetsov. So, and this is what I wanted to tell you guys today. And as always, those who like what I do, please subscribe to my channel. And those who can afford, please support me on Patreon or buy me a coffee and two. That will allow me to stay in this business. Have a nice rest of the week, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.